Let me get this gay. It's been over 40 years since the United States has been living with HIV and AIDS, but a lot has changed. And we're here with Michael McHale, aka Miracle Mike, listening to him tell his story. So Michael, first thing I want to know is, you identify as gay.
Yes.
When did you first come out?
I came out about a month before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
I had gone to my first bar ever over Labor Day weekend, a month before my birthday. And I came home that night and I said to my mom, I said, I had a great time tonight, Mom. And I said, and by the way, I'm gay and I don't care if you accept it or not. She goes, wait a minute, I have something to say. I go, do you accept it? And she said, yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so that's good that she was automatically accepting, because a lot of people are not so fortunate.
Yeah.
Now, does that attribute to anything? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up right outside of Boston in
Okay.
a town called Woburn, Massachusetts.
Woburn.
Woburn.
Okay.
Yep. As featured in the movie Civil Action, it's all about my hometown.
Oh,
so I
okay.
recommend it. John Travolta's in it. It was a housing. We lived in a housing project, so
Okay.
it was a little, bleak sometimes, but family was there.
Oh, I wanted to kind of understand what your upbringing was like, because 1981, right? The first time we hear 41 cases
Yep.
of what was known as the gay cancer.
Yep.
What was that world like?
It was dark. I mean, it was a very dark world. I mean, I was involved with a right-wing fundamentalist church at the time. So for us, I wasn't, but they were celebrating
Oh, wow.
that it was killing off all the gays and the heathens and everything. And it broke my heart because I love Jesus and I still do. And when they would do that, I was like, I don't think that's how Jesus feels.
Yeah, because you, at that time, you were not out then, right?
No.
No,
But
okay.
I knew I was gay. I knew I was
okay.
gay when I was 3.
Okay.
There was no
Okay.
no question at all.
So although you
but-
weren't out, though, like, did this change how you lived in the world, like hearing this news?
It did when I finally became a part of the gay community.
I feel like the gay community is known to be, prior to this time,
Yeah.
live and let live, right? Like, love is love. And then here's this thing now where you have to
It
be
was
aware.
warrior time. We all became warriors. We all put on our suits of armor and we had to protect ourselves. And
Wow.
it was really an odd time because like after I was diagnosed, I would date these amazing people, these amazing men, and they were just terrified. It was
Yeah.
at that time where everyone was terrified to get AIDS, and it was
Yeah.
a death sentence. That was it. I got 7 to 9 years to live when I was diagnosed.
Well, let's take a couple steps back, because I do want to
Yeah.
learn a bit about this diagnosis, right? Because you had
Yeah.
mentioned it was about protecting ourselves. These guys were terrified. So 1990,
Yep.
you're diagnosed. But what made
Yes.
you get tested in the first place?
I hadn't been feeling well. Like I was diagnosed in August of that year, and it was like in March I started feeling off, and I got every test in the book for TB, for mono, for everything, and everything came back negative. And then I was like, ugh, I guess I'll just do the test.
Yeah.
So I did the test, and it came back, and
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a pretty big
'Cause
test.
It is. And the thing is, I had been with someone for about 2 years and totally monogamous, and we had breakup sex once without protection. It was the only time we didn't have protection. So it only took one shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because I never try to ask somebody, like, how did they get the virus? But I appreciate you being so open about it.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Yeah.
curious to know, because you're like, you know what, let me get this test, right?
Yep.
What was it like waiting for those results? And how did they tell you, Michael, you have it?
It was terrifying, but I knew in my gut that that's what it was. I
You
knew
already
what it was,
knew.
because everything came back negative. I mean, I got at least 12 different tests. The good thing was that my nurse practitioner was an amazing lesbian woman.
Okay.
So, when it happened, she's like, I'm sorry, I have bad news for you. You're HIV positive. And I said, well, let's test again. And she said, no, that's it.
Yeah.
You are. I said, well, what about miracles from God? And she's like, well, bring them on. And so,
It's interesting you mentioned, that a lesbian was the one that told you the
Mm-hmm.
news, because we now know that lesbians really were helping take care
Yep.
of the gay community.
Yep.
So it's kind of
Yep.
beautiful in that way that she was the one to tell
Absolutely.
you.
Yep.
What-
Jen Williams, love her.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you leave this office,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have this news now. You're out as a gay man at this point.
Mm-hmm.
What is the world like for Michael at this point?
It's on its head. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Because I was very upset with God, because it was right before I turned 25. I'm dating myself now. It was, and I screamed at God, because I was
Yeah.
like, I literally had just become comfortable in my skin and let go of my guilt for being gay. And,
Yeah.
because I was in the church. I was going to be a missionary and a minister. So, I was very angry. I was angry and I was terrified, and I was like, "That's it." It's like no
Probably
one's
felt
gonna
like a
wanna date
punishment?
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I even called up the radio show of my former church that I was in, and disguised my voice and said my name was Steve, and I told my story, and the pastor said, "Michael, we'll pray for you, but you're backslidden right now, so you need to, we'll pray for you." And well, he's not around anymore. So
Well,
I guess
joke's on him.
I'm still here.
Who needed the
so
prayers?
it's like-
I am curious, because that is what I wanted to know is, did you face any violence or discrimination, like when people uncovered this status about you, or did you keep it hidden?
I kept it hidden. I just, like, family-wise, I just told my mom
Mm-hmm.
and some of my close relatives
Okay.
that I was close to. I didn't talk about it at work
Yeah.
until people were complaining. One guy in particular was complaining that I had missed a lot of work. So I told the HR woman, I said I would be more than happy to talk to everyone. So I did 2 meetings. With one, I worked on the stock market for a while.
Okay.
So I did 2 meetings in one day with, each half of the office, and I told everyone, this is why I've been out, and
Yeah.
I said I just found out I'm HIV positive. I have 7 to 9 years to live. And the guy who was so upset, I watched him, because when we got in the room, he was like,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on? And because he just thought I was out partying all
Yeah.
whatever, and
Having a
no.
good time.
And when I shared the news, he just broke. He just started weeping.
Wow.
In the room. He felt so bad, and I was like, "It's okay, you didn't know." It's I didn't know.
That's amazing to have that response like that early on, because to this day, people are still hateful. Like,
Yep.
let me tell you, today,
Yep.
I got a comment today that said, good luck, go spread AIDS. Like, I'm HIV negative, and that was I was like, it's so funny that today I get that comment knowing that we're going to talk today.
Ignorant people.
It's just absolutely ignorant, and I don't understand the hate, because
Yeah.
we've clearly got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But as we digress, back to the story, the first glimpse for possible hope for HIV is what, AZT? That was what we're led to believe was supposed to be helpful,
Yes.
and this was 1987?
Yes.
Did you
And
take it?
No, because I had friends that were already on it.
Okay.
And they were a frickin' mess. They were
Wow.
a mess. They were a mess. My best friend, Michael Smith, he was like this amazing guy in Boston. And he wrote the gossip column for the newspaper and the gay rag and stuff. And he was on it. And we would talk every day on the phone. He worked for the phone company.
Yeah.
And I worked for the stock market. And he'd be in the bathroom every hour.
Oh.
So when I was diagnosed as HIV, they wanted me to start getting on stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, nope,
No.
not taking anything, because I don't drink or do drugs anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I'm not going to put anything in my body.
You weren't
going to
do it.
Nope.
I do
Nope.
want to know, because it feels like there's been a lot of, at least in shows I've watched, right? Like, I love the show Pose. And there's a moment in that show where they make it very known that people of color struggle to get approved for these trials, for AZT and the cocktails, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice that happening? Was that something you noticed?
No, I personally didn't notice it. I mean, I used to travel with this amazing African-American man, and we used to go and educate in the high schools. I made up a character called MC Condom, and I made up rap songs about having safe sex, and I had condoms all over me, and it was like,
Wow.
we have safe sex, safe. So I would go out with him, and we would educate and stuff, and we had the best time, and he never mentioned it. I mean, he was, and he was
Okay.
pretty, but that was also, we were in Boston, and
Right.
it was a Fenway clinic there,
Okay.
which was like, one of the biggest first,
Yeah.
clinics for HIV and AIDS.
That seems like you had a lot of good support where you were, which is
Yep.
good.
Yep.
And so I know we were just, laughing and having a good time, but I do have a serious question for you.
Sure.
And we were talking about, AZT, you saw what it did to your friends.
Yeah.
How many funerals did you attend for people that were from HIV and AIDS? Like, if you had to give a number, like, how much death did you witness?
I mean, I witnessed dozens and dozens of people dying.
Yeah.
I personally went to 12
Wow.
funerals, and it was just, that's all I could do.
Is there
And
anybody that was diagnosed around the same time as you that is still here with us, or are you kind of just you?
No, yeah. I mean, I think I have my friend Tim,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he lives in Florida now from Boston, but no one else. I don't know of anybody else.
That's
that
got to be
was
tough.
around. Yeah.
Like to just go to that, seeing all of that happening.
Yep.
And like,
Yep.
even if it wasn't funerals you were yourself going to,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there were so many you heard about.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was like every day, it was like there was someone we knew that was dying or struggling, and
Wow.
and even more so when I came out here too. But that's another.
Yeah. Well, we are going to get to that because I
Yeah.
do want to know, like, because you made the move here. But
Mm-hmm.
first, I want to understand, when did HIV diagnosis for you turn into AIDS? How quick did it happen?
My first diagnosis with AIDS was in '97.
So about 7 years.
7 years.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was right, and this is very important for people to understand. It was very soon after my mother passed away.
Okay.
So it's totally, my belief system is that any kind of illness, whether it's AIDS, cancer, anything, a lot of it comes up because of stress.
Okay. Yeah,
Because
I've
when
heard of
you're
that. I've heard that
stressed,
before.
when you're stressed, your immune system just goes
Yeah.
it doesn't fight as hard.
Yeah.
So when my mom passed away, I mean, she was my best friend, and 2 months later, the doctor was like, "Yeah, you full blown AIDS. You have
Wow.
like, like 100 T cells. What's going on?" I'm like, well, my mother died.
Yeah. Because
and she's my best friend.
stress takes a lot on the body.
Absolutely.
What else was your body going through at that time? Like, what was the physical reactions you were having, and also, yeah, let's talk about the T cells, because I know.
Yeah. It was just a lot of bathroom time, and losing weight. I lost a lot of weight,
Mhm.
and I was just exhausted, like all the time. I had I always mispronounce it, pneumocystis.
T cells. What is a normal T cell range for somebody?
1,400 to like 2,000.
And what was yours?
It was 100
Wow.
at that time.
What
Yeah.
was your lowest with T cells?
4?
4.
Yeah.
4 singular T cells.
Yeah. I named them Candy, Brandy, Sandy, and Dandy. I had to name them.
I don't mean
before
to laugh,
lose
but I
them.
just love.
No, it's
I just love that even in the face of this potential near death,
yeah.
you're finding ways to cope with it.
Yep.
And so, talking about death, you've been quoted saying that in 1993 you wanted to die in a warmer climate. So that's why you
Yep.
moved to LA.
Yep.
Did you really fear death coming? Did you think it was going to happen?
I didn't fear it
Okay.
because I am a believer. I still
Yeah.
am. I love Jesus is my best friend, and then Bob. But I didn't. I've never feared it.
Okay.
It's I didn't really like. I came out here
Mm-hmm.
and because I was doing comedy in Boston to heal.
Yeah.
I started doing stand-up comedy, and I just joked and I said, well, if I'm gonna die, I want to die somewhere warm.
Did you
that's
really
gonna-
believe that you were going to, like, did you believe what
Kind
the
of
doctor
50-50.
said? Okay.
50-50, but I was waiting for a miracle.
And you got close to dying. Was it 13 times?
13 times, yeah.
So I would love to know, because a lot of people that have almost like these near-death experiences
Yeah.
say that they see something or that they see like their loved ones. Do you remember, like, was there a white light? Did you see anybody?
No, I mean, one experience I had, I was It was 98, I want to say 98. It was right after my grandmother passed.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's stress related. It's like, because she was a
Right.
pillar in my life. I was down to 106 pounds. I was laying in my bed, and I was like barely breathing, and I did. I had a vision of this person. I couldn't see them, but I could hear them, and they took me. It was like I was on top of this mountain, and I was just done. I was like, I want to just go.
Wow.
I was just I was exhausted.
You were ready.
I was ready. I was
Okay.
ready. And the voice said, no, no, you can't. Let me show you something. And he made me look over, and I saw like thousands and thousands and thousands of people like everywhere. And the voice said, you're going to meet all these people. You're going to be in their lives. You can't leave now. You still have more to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, damn. Okay.
Well, you've
Fine.
talked about having a really strong relationship with religion,
Mm-hmm.
with God, with Jesus. What were your religious beliefs at that point? Because I feel like that would like put somebody into turbo mode for beliefs. Like when they're
Yeah.
getting that close to heaven's
Yeah.
door.
Yeah. I mean, I embraced it. I was ready. I knew that, my mom would be there when I,
Yeah.
left, and I also too. This is kind of on a side note. I had relatives calling me in the hospital. Like my aunt called me and she says, "Michael, I'm sorry. We've been talking about it and we can't afford to fly you home." And I'm like, "That's okay. I'm here in LA. It's all
Yeah.
right." She said, "No, like, we're going to have you cremated."
Oh.
When I'm like, "What?" It's like
Yeah.
they're already having me
Yeah.
like die and like being cremated and sent home. I'm like, let me do one step at a time here.
Yeah. So were you
So-
in the hospital a lot at this time then, I'm guessing?
Yes. This was like probably almost a month, like that one. It was
Oh, wow.
the July of '98. Yeah.
Here we are, you're in the hospital, you're
Yep.
very close to death multiple times, and then 2011 happens, and AIDS goes down to HIV. How?
Two things. One is I was going to Agape at the time, the Church Agape with
Okay.
Reverend Michael. Oprah goes there and stuff
Okay.
too sometimes. And we would talk about my AIDS, and he would say, "Stop saying you have AIDS." And I'm like, okay, I will. And then I was in a class with Dee Wallace, is one of my close friends, the mom from ET. And while I invited a friend to class, and I was very proud, and I did my scene, and she said, "What the hell was that? That was shit. What the?" And I started crying, and I said, "I just want to be a great actor." And then my body started shaking, and I said, "Wait, I don't want to be a great actor. I am a great actor. I need to stop saying I want, because it keeps." I said, "It pushes it away, doesn't it?" She said, "Yes, it does." And then I looked at her and I said, "But this has nothing to do with acting, does it?" She said, "No, it doesn't. What is it?" And I said, "Oh, I keep saying I want to be healed from AIDS, but I need to say that I am healed." And she said, "There you go. That's
Where do
what
you
this
think-
is about."
Where do you think the healing came from? Like, has anyone been able to tell you how this changed? Because it's not too common at all for someone to go from that.
Exactly. Well, two reasons. One, in that moment, I changed my story, and I stopped saying that I wanted to be healed. I just said, "I am healed. I am healed. I am healed." And I also, this sounds kind of weird, but I grew up near a swamp, and I had lots of warts all over my hands before you guys ever met me.
Okay.
I had lots of warts. And my friend said, "Try apple cider, the Bragg's apple cider vinegar." And I'm like, "It's not going to work." He goes, "Just try it." And my hands were covered. It was really gross and disgusting. So I did right around the same time. And within 2 weeks, they were all gone, and they'd never come back since
Wow.
2011. So I told my doctor that. I changed my story, and I started applying it topically. And my doctor said apple cider vinegar boosts the immune system by 1,000%. I said, "Why aren't more people talking about that?"
I'm just amazed that it wasn't medicine, it wasn't surgery, it wasn't procedures. It really was a miracle for you that you were
really
able
was.
to
Yep.
basically get back into living your life.
Yep.
And now, almost 34 years later,
Yep.
coming up on August, what's life for you like now?
Amazing. It's great. I have, on the downside, I have side effects from the meds. Like I got osteoporosis, and then the osteoporosis caused my hearing loss. But I mean, I'm alive, and I'm
Yeah.
surrounded by people that I love and
Yeah.
that love me. I think they do.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so it's just been, I feel like I've had an amazing life because I took a step and came out to a city where I knew one person.
yeah.
That was it. And I
I feel like
didn't
that's a
know
risk for a
anybody.
lot of people. LA, like you don't usually, you kind of
Exactly.
have to make it when you get here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had people saying, you can't go there. You'll be all alone. I'm like, I might make a friend or two. Who knows? I don't know. And I would tell people, I want to meet Dee Wallace Stone, and I wanted to meet Dan Gautier, because those are two of my favorite actors. And of course, everyone says, "Who's Dan Gautier?" I'm like, look him up. He's amazing. And I've met them both, and they're both very dear friends of mine.
Wow. So you've accomplished a lot in life,
I
but
have, and I've gotten to meet amazing people and be a part of
yeah.
great things. And I'm like, because of my HIV, because I would have
Yeah.
just stayed in Boston, worked on the stock market, made good money, and I
Yeah.
mean, I had a really sweet life back there, and I had a nice apartment in the North End, but
Yeah.
this is where I was supposed to be.
But what was the biggest lesson you think you've learned through all of this?
Oh, don't judge. Don't judge people because you have
Okay.
no idea what they're going through. You have
Yeah.
no idea what their story is, what they're going through, because we just judge by appearances or by little like snippets of people
Yeah.
and stuff. And people need to stop that because
Yeah.
it's like a lower, like I know it sounds woo-hoo, but it's a lower vibration for us.
Yeah.
We don't need to be doing that.
Yeah. Focus on the positivity,
Yeah.
like the good in people.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
understand that. There's a lot that our community goes through, so I can
We
fully relate to that.
we
Not
do.
anything you've gone through.
Well, and I got to say, and on that note about the community, for me, especially out here too, most of my support came from the other HIV, HIV people and stuff. And a lot of the community that was not HIV, this was like back in like
Yeah.
early 90s, they weren't very supportive. The lesbians were,
Right.
the women were, but the men were just, and they still, from what I hear, like on the dating apps, it's like,
Yeah.
no, don't be positive. It's like, oh my God,
Right.
that is so like, it's like just
Well, especially now in a
shallow
world
and
where
lame.
undetectable,
Exactly.
is a thing, like that a lot of people that
Yeah.
have HIV, are considered undetectable, which means they're
Yep.
not it's not transmittable.
Exactly. Yeah.
So are you still currently diagnosed with HIV now, or are you considered
Yes,
you are okay.
undetectable. Well,
You are
undetectable.
undetectable.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
you've gone from AIDS to
Yeah.
HIV to undetectable.
Yep.
That's incredible. I think the one thing I just want to know is what should the world know about HIV and AIDS? Like, what should people know about this virus?
They need to know that it's still there, and they need to educate themselves.
Yeah.
Whether it's watching your videos, which are very educational, but
Nice plug there.
just look it up. I mean, 40 million men, women, and children have died from AIDS
Yeah.
since '81, and
Because it's not
right
just
now,
a gay disease, as people love to say.
yeah, and
Everyone's
it's
affected.
and now it's like 39 million are still living with it right now. People need to get educated about it and stop judging, like because people would be like, oh well, you must have been promiscuous. No, I was in a monogamous relationship for
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah.
with my first love, and
Yeah.
one time.
But even if you
That's all
weren't,
the
no,
time.
it's not something somebody deserves. You know what I mean? I love the
No.
episode of The Golden Girls. AIDS is not a bad people's disease, Rose. It's one of my
No.
favorite lines that they say.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that bad people get. It's just something that people can get. Things
Yeah.
can happen.
Yeah.
Your story is just honestly, it's so amazing. So I'm really glad that I got to talk to you.
Thank
and
you
if
for-
people do want to learn more about your story and who you are, what's the best way that they can do that?
They can follow me on Instagram at I am Miracle Mike on Instagram, and also Michael McHale, actor, on Instagram.
Okay.
Those are my two main places, and I do have a website, IamMiracleMike.com,
Perfect.
as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time for your story. I'm glad we got to hang out.
Yeah,
And,
this
it's a
is
great
great.
way to kind of, wrap up Pride Month, because Pride Month is still very important.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Happy
Happy Pride, everyone.
Yes, happy Pride.
And be prideful every day.
Yes.
Embrace yourself.
And thank you if you watched this entire interview. And please share, what's something you learned from this interview with Miracle Mike.
Yeah.